Good Friday morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us. From the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by the Grain Equipment Company, where innovation meets execution. I'm Joe Everett. Well, currently 67 degrees outside here at the farm this morning. Luckily, farmers in our area and others across the state were able to keep pushing forward with harvest, but the progress is going to slow down a little bit as Hurricane Helene makes her way through the Buckeye State. We'll have a full forecast update for you shortly, but now let's check in with Dale Minya as he has an update from the Ohio Forestry Association.
Joining me is Jenna Reese. It's time for our Wood, If You Would update, and we'll be talking about the Paul Bunyan Show. It is a project of the Ohio Forestry Association. Jenna, is it bigger and better? Can we say that?
It absolutely is bigger and better. This year we have more exhibitors than we ever have before and are expecting another record attendance. It's going to be October 4th through 6th at the Guernsey County Fairgrounds, so come check it out.
Now, when we check it out, we're also talking about flapjacks every day for breakfast, and last year we found out the amount of cornmeal in it determines whether it's a flapjack.
Correct. Make sure you start your day off right with good food to eat. Check out Flapjacks for Lumberjacks. All proceeds of that breakfast go to the Ohio Tree Farm Committee. You can also check out many of the other food vendors there, including our famous Bunyan Burger.
If the kids want to come, it is a tremendous show to see big equipment, and some of it's in full action.
Bring the entire family. Yes, it's very friendly to all ages. We will have very large equipment running for demonstrations for adults. We have educational sessions if you're a landowner, or even professional training if you are using a chainsaw in a regular part of your business. Husqvarna, our title sponsor, will be back for the 18th year in a row offering chainsaw safety and cutting techniques. So make sure to check that out. We also will have the Great Lakes Timber Show for entertainment. That's always a favorite. And our lumberjack competition. There is a state competition on Friday and an international competition on Saturday.
What do they do with all the wood they cut up in these demonstrations?
One of the favorite parts of the show is that all the processed wood throughout the show gets auctioned off on Sunday at 2 o'clock. So check out the wood auction. We will have lots of piles of firewood that people may purchase, as well as sawn lumber and some live edge slabs.
I've been visiting with Jenna Reese. Again, this is a project of the Ohio Forestry Association.
Hey, thanks, Dale. Well, ag groups are urging the White House to step in and help avert a potential strike that could occur at East Coast and Gulf Coast ports beginning on October 1st. Groups like the American Farm Bureau, Renewable Fuels Association, and the American Chemistry Council said the time has come for the government to intervene and ensure port operations don't stop. They're asking for help in preventing damages to U.S. agriculture and the overall economy. Countrywide says Republican Senator Ted Cruz cited a J.P. Morgan analysis that predicted a strike at a large number of ports could cost the economy $5 billion daily. Negotiations between the International Longshoremen's Association Union and the United States Maritime Alliance Employer Group appear to be in a deadlock on pay as the current contract expires on September 30th. The Biden administration says it doesn't intend to invoke the Taft-Hartley Act to prevent a strike. We'll be back to take a look at today's weather after this.
Diane from Michigan, a disabled senior citizen trying to get by. Henry from Florida, a veteran fighting to make ends meet. Elena from Arizona, a mother struggling to feed her daughter. Hi, I'm Connie Britton, and I support Feeding America because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year, like Diane, Henry, and Elena. Learn more at feedingamerica.org. Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
Now let's check out your Friday weather as we head into the weekend, brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Here's the forecast.
Plenty of moisture pushing up into the Buckeye State today. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at that Ohio Ag weather update. It is dominated by Hurricane Helene. She made landfall last evening and overnight down in the eastern part of Florida's Panhandle. Moisture is pushing northward towards us. Light moisture here as we get started through the day in the southern parts of Ohio. But as the low, and it's still going to be called a tropical depression by the time it gets to around Louisville, as that low lifts north, we see heavier rains push into southern and southwestern parts of Ohio, eventually spreading across the entirety of the state. 1/4 to 2 inches is what I'm putting in right now from Helene initially, from today through tomorrow early morning. Then The low wants to just kind of sit and spin for about 2 days in that Cape Girardeau, Missouri to Paducah, Kentucky area, and it's going to continue to wrap some moisture in here. On again, off again clouds for sure, and I think we have to look for moisture right on through Sunday late afternoon and evening. Additional moisture can be a few hundredths to a few tenths or maybe even half an inch depending on where you're at, and it looks to me like some of this moisture may want to try and linger through Monday as well. So we're not going to be drying down anytime soon. What I can tell you is we are going to start to dry on Tuesday, and we are wide open, sunny, warm, and dry from Tuesday right on through this upcoming weekend, the weekend of the 5th and 6th. I think the dry window extends into the week of the 7th as well. Our next weather system starting to form around the 6th in the northern Rockies, kicking out to the east, so it'll be several days before it can get here. I think we do have a window of opportunity for harvest, even with Helene kind of messing things up a bit. I'm Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Well, the USDA September 1st Hogs and Pigs report has inventory at 76.5 million head. That was up slightly from September 1st of 2023 and is up 2% from June 1st, 2024. Breeding inventory is at 6.04 million head. That was down 2% from the previous year, but is up 1% from the previous quarter. Market hog inventory is at 70.4 million head. That was up 1% from last year and is up 2% from the previous quarter. Now let's check in with Dale Minyo as he has an update from this week's Feeding Farmers from Mercer County.
Joining me on week number 1 of Feeding Farmers, just northwest of Salina, is Chris Regadance. And Chris, nice to have you. When I pulled back in, I thought the place looked familiar. We've been here before, haven't we?
Yes, we have. It was 2 years ago. So my boy, he entered, won it. He asked if we would be interested in doing it again, and I said, well, sure, it'd be fine. It's a good experience and a lot of fun. Dale's a great guy, and all of our sponsors that we have, a great meal.
Well, congratulations. Let's talk about the farm. Before we get to the things that were impacted by weather, you've got turkeys, and you call it a starter barn. What size are they when they get here, and how long do they stay in the barn?
Well, we raise turkeys for Cooper Farms out of Fort Recovery in Oakwood, Ohio, and the birds, when I get them, or we get them, I guess, they are 1 day old, and we keep them until they're 5 weeks old, and then they move out of our buildings and go to finish out building, and they raised from 5 weeks to 20 weeks, and then they're market weight birds.
And you can actually see the finishing barns from the starter barns because it's your family as well.
Correct. My mom and dad have 2 finished barns as well. So yes, we have basically start to finish.
Let's talk about what kind of a season was it. Everybody's been dry, but I actually got some video of mud and reminded everybody what it looked like, but it hasn't been that way for very long.
No, it quit raining pretty much in July, and the last few days we've gotten about 1.5 inches of rain, which made mud, and it has affected the crops. This is going to be the year of what could it have been because the crop is there. We just ran out of rain.
You got started mid-April, you said.
Yes, the planting season, we started the 20th of April and finished about the May 20th. And good stands, the crop was there. But we're still going to be okay. It's not an awful crop. I've started cutting some beans, shelled a little corn. It's dry, and it's not going to be a complete flop.
Surprisingly dry based on some of the green. And on my way to Salina here in Mercer County, I saw several fields that maybe were 30 or 40% of full yellow, not yet dropped off, and those are going to take a little more time.
Yes. Some of our later planted guys that got things out a little later, they still have there'll be another couple weeks. I myself, if it wasn't mud today, we could start cutting and probably not quit. We could probably just go until we were done.
Have you ever run this dry this early?
No. We have cut this early, but the beans were 9.5% moisture. Some guys are having stuff that I have heard clear down to 5 and 6% moisture on beans. So they're more fit than they look.
And you also had on your notes, or we had information that you actually traveled 10 or 12 miles to help a friend harvest some substantial acres too. So does he get his done after you get yours done, or do you actually go back and forth?
No, we work together. If his stuff is ready to run, I'll go cut his too. We work together real well, and the combine sometimes will go back and forth a couple times a season, and but it's okay. That's just the way you do it.
Chris, congratulations, and thanks for having us back out to the farm. I remember a lot of it now. Good to see your mom and dad here as well. And Luke was a great tour guide as he took us around to see all the things. He's really excited to see how that video footage comes together. Chris Regadan's my guest, and we're just northwest of Salina. Thanks for having us.
You're welcome, and thank you guys.
Hey, thanks, Dale. Well, the USDA's updates to the Farm Service Agency's farm loan programs are officially in effect. These changes are designated to increase financial flexibility for agriculture producers, allowing them to grow their operations, boost profitability, and build long-term savings. USDA says the new rule will mean a low-interest installment set-aside program. Financially distressed borrowers can defer up to one annual loan payment at a reduced interest rate. There are also flexibility repayment terms. New repayment options give borrowers the ability to increase their cash flow and build working capital reserves, also for long-term financial planning. The new rule also means reduced collateral requirements. FSA lowered the amount of additional loan securities needed for direct farm loans, making it easier for borrowers to leverage their existing equity without putting their personal residence at risk. USDA says the new rule gives farmers and ranchers better tools to manage their operations and get long-term financial stability. We'll be back with the grain analysis in your overnight markets after this.
Do you know where the kids are?
Yeah, they're just right over there.
A child dies in an agriculture-related accident every 3 days. Every day, at least 33 kids are injured. 60% of them were not working when they were injured. Let's make sure the next generation is safe. No children are safe before moving equipment. This message brought to you by the Ohio AgNet, OSU Extension Ag Safety and Health Team, and this station.
It's now time for the Louis Dreyfus Grain Analysis, and that is brought to you by the Ohio Soybean Council and your soybean checkoff. Here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets backed up yesterday, turned around, tucked tail, and ran home. Boy, I tell you what, it was an immediate pullback in the grain markets after a very nice start where everything was green. We finished the day off of the highs, not just well off the highs, but doggone near the lows in some of these markets. As a matter of fact, soybeans were very, very close to the lows, finishing down 11 to 12.5 cents. Corn was down a couple of pennies, still holding above $4, but still. And then the wheat markets were pulling back as well. The biggest losses in Chicago, KC, Minneapolis, pretty steady overall in terms of where they were through the day. What was the big story here? Demand slowed in the marketplace, and really with the markets being up, we saw a lot of farmers engaging in cash sales. The U.S. weekly wheat and corn sales were slow. Let's start there. The weekly export sales report came out. 5.8 million bushels of wheat, 21.1 million bushels of corn. Beans was the big one, 57.9 million bushels. We didn't really get surprised by the bean number because we'd heard all sorts of rumors about China sniffing around for beans, anywhere from 18 to 28, 30 cargoes, if you could look at combined rumors that we heard over the past week. So it wasn't really all that exciting on the bean side. For their respective crop years, the U.S. has sold 22% higher this year on wheat than the year prior. On the corn, we're up 17%, and on beans, we're down only 1% versus last year. So we've really kind of paired that mismatch on beans. Grain stocks report is going to be out here as we move into next week. Average trade guess for September grain stocks, 351 million bushels of beans, 1.844 billion bushels of corn. Helene making landfall overnight, steamrolling toward the eastern corn belt. That'll slow harvest in parts of Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois through the weekend. I'm Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Now let's take a look at your overnight markets, brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. While things are mixed in Chicago, let's start off with December corn, 411.5, down 1 3/4. March corn, 428 3/4, down 2 1/4. May corn, 438 3/4, down 2 1/4. November soybeans, 1042 1/4, up 1 1/4. January soybeans, 1060, up 3/4. March soybeans, 1073 1/4, up 1/4. December wheat, 579.5, down 4 3/4. March wheat, $6, down 4 1/4. Switching over to take a look at livestock from yesterday's close. October live cattle, 184.10, up $1.05. December live cattle, 184.82, up 50 cents. October lean hogs, 82.02, down 45 cents. December lean hog, $73.92, down 97 cents. October feeder cattle, $246.92, up 90 cents. And November feeder cattle, $244.97, up 92 cents. October Class 3 milk, $23.26, down 6 cents. To stay up to date on all the latest agricultural news, you can find that at ohioagnet.com. Or if you're on the go and would like to get the Ohio AgNet delivered straight to your phone, you can sign up for our text alerts at ocj.com/text. Have a great day, everyone. I'm Joe Everett, and you're listening to the Ohio AgNet.